as an accidental nurturer, accidental meaning, remember we were proactive or reactive, we were intentional versus accidental. If we're operating well on our first voice, we're being intentional, not accidental. But we recognize some of these. They work harder and longer hours, gradually wearing themselves out physically, mentally, and emotionally. They start to sabotage their own leadership, doubting themselves and wondering out loud if they are really the best person to lead. Okay? They struggle to participate effectively due to a combination of their perfectionist tendencies and fear of overloading others. And their tendency to overprotect, not participate, and to not set expectations can inhibit the growth and empowerment of others. Now, as an accidental nurturer, what that basically boils down to is that if you are acting intentionally, you are providing care for your team members, right? But if you're not, you're just avoiding caring for them. Okay, and we have a little visual here. A nurturer, think of a medic in a field, right? So a medic will help everybody. You notice this is the enemy back in World War II, right? This is a World War II medic. This is a German soldier on the ground. The medic's providing medical care. If you're acting in a intentional way as a nurturer, you'll provide care to everybody. Accidental creative, okay? So when creatives being accidental, they fail to communicate in a way that other voices can understand and wonder why no one is doing what they asked, okay? Their perfectionist tendencies and inability to celebrate wins can gradually suck joy out of a team, okay? They can disengage their team by withdrawing and internalizing ideal development or problem solving and choose not to invite others to participate in their thinking. So you're constantly go, go, go. You're constantly thinking, and but you're not sharing those ideas vocally, or they're not clear, right? Maybe you're speaking, but they're not hearing you. In withdrawing, they become increasingly critical of themselves and others and become less available to their team. If this is your first voice and you're acting accidentally, this is just some triggers to recognize, right? And then if you relate more to the thinker side, you're like that laser, you know, they don't even know it's coming, but you shoot through them, laser eyes, right? Like not Superman laser eyes, because Superman's laser eyes are for good, right? These are when we're acting intentionally in a outside of our natural voice. Our triggers will cause us to, as a thinker, will cause us to, you know, shoot lasers at people with our eyes. If we're a feeler, we hulk up our feelings, right? So if we're naturally wired as a creative feeler and things aren't going our way, we can hulk up and we can be very big and bold with our emotions. Okay, so just be aware of that. Right. The one thing I relate to at Hulk a lot. As a pioneer, I've always been in charge, and so I'm a pioneer creative. So I'm a creative, not feeler, but I'm a thinker. But I can have feeler tendencies, and I can hulk up like the best of them. Right? It's really sad. But what's interesting about this, as when I recognize it, right? There's a saying in one of the Marvel movies. They said, "Hulk, we need you to get angry." He goes, "Don't worry, I'm always angry." Right? So if you're wired as a connector feeler, as a creative connector feeler like that, right? It doesn't take much to trigger you. Right? You're just constantly trying to push those anger feelings down, especially when you're not being heard, right? And they're one of the quietest voice, 9%. Remember, accidental guardian. They become hard driving taskmasters. Nothing is more important than working hard. They overwork and expect others to do the same to meet the agreed deadlines. They become more aggressive in their questioning and decision making, which can also often cause offense. They start to micromanage projects and people so that they can Feeling control, they often take on the work of their team due to lack of trust in their competence of others. And they can close down new ideas too quickly when they don't have information and become rigid to previously agreed upon plans. Okay, so think about that for a second. If you have guardians in your world and you're feeling this from them, recognize that, right? So the guardian's trigger is an interrogator. If I can get to it. So this is a movie scene where the guy's interrogating. I don't know if that's James Bond or not, but they're interrogating him, right? So guardian can be an interrogator, can constantly be hitting you with thoughts and ideas and helping you, not really actually even helping you, just constantly berating you, trying to get you to get on task, right? Accidental connector, excuse me. They wear themselves out trying to be a perfect leader for everyone. So they know everybody. They have a guy, right? They have a guy. I can get you this. I can get you that. Let's get you connected. They hint at feedback rather than challenging directly. When the hint is not heard, they have a tendency to erupt like a volcano. So that's the Hulk side of it, right? But think about it. I have an issue with an associate. Instead of going to them and talking to them directly, right? I'll send an email. I might be berating in that email. Anybody ever type an email and like have that moment of, okay, I typed it, I feel much better, delete, right? Anybody have that tendency to type an email and send? I've done that. It's not very nice. It's not very good. But when I'm acting in my connector voice and I'm acting accidental, man, I can berate people cyberly, right? When feeling unappreciated, they shift their focus from the team to external relationships and exciting new opportunities. And they confuse and exhaust others as they generate new ideas, change goalposts, and struggle to deliver on everything they start. So difference between a guardian and connector, right? Guardian is going to keep us on task. We're going to be going this direction. Connector is going to be like, which way? Okay, go, 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 go. All right, let's go. And so when we're acting accidental as a connector, we're totally changing focus constantly, right? And it takes those other voices to bring us back sometimes, right? So use your first voice as a nurturer to provide care for that connector who's not necessarily focused on going. If your guardian tendencies, use your guardian tendencies to help them critique where they're going, but ask permission to critique first. Okay. All right. So triggers. Notice cyber warfare, right? This is like a big degree now. Everybody's going out and getting these huge degrees, right? So in protecting our digital world from cyber warfare. But think about that in regards of a connector. When we're acting accidentally, our triggers are cyber warfare. The accidental pioneer. They do not take time to hear from everyone, believing that they have the right answer and wanting to deliver quickly. Right? So as a first voice pioneer, I came in with the answer. I didn't even need your help. I don't need your help on this project. I already know the answer, right? And they drive the team harder and harder, assuming, like the pioneer, everyone else defines their identity through what they achieve. So I'm achievement oriented, right? I am constantly thinking about how I'm climbing that mountain. Support and encouragement are conditional. You have to earn the right to receive them through personal performance. Okay, so a pioneer is expecting you to come up to their level, not necessarily am I going to go down to your level, right? But if I'm acting in a nurturer voice, I'm going to come down, right? And I'm going to be helpful. They dominate the agenda and become overly aggressive in team discussions, closing other voices down. So you might have friends that are wired this way. Think about that. When you're in a situation where a pioneer is just like running the show, right? You can help them understand that this is not where they're at, where they should be at. Okay. All right. The trigger for a pioneer is they bulldoze people. Okay. So if you have friends that you feel like you're being bulldozed, it's because they're wired as a pioneer, right? And you need to help them understand to become more nurturing. When we're not intentional, we tend to undermine ourselves, our team, and increase chance that unhealthy voices are triggered. So the idea behind this is to help you just kind of recognize how you're wired, right? Recognize how you're wired. Recognize that if your first voice pioneer or nurturer, if your first voice nurturer, you probably need to value some of the pioneer tendencies to balance better. Okay. If you're wired pioneer like I am, I need to balance nurturer tendencies better. Okay. Same thing with connector, same thing with creative, and same thing with guardian. So understanding the people that make up 73% of the population, yeah, that's as an 11 percenter, you will do better at relating to people when you give them their voice. They give them opportunity to speak first.